me get a show of hands here. How many people are satisfied and happy about where the economy is right now? Not one hand went up. Well, it doesn't surprise me. Part of my duties, I spend about half my time these days going around and speaking to various groups all around the country in many different lines of work, in many different fields, our clients and customers of the bank. And I'll tell you, there's a tremendous amount of fear, a tremendous amount of confusion, and probably a little more anger than I've ever seen around where we are economically in this country. An ABC News, recent ABC News poll suggested that 85% of Americans today are angry about the economy. It's not very often you see a poll with those sort of numbers in anything. I just hope that 85% of Americans aren't angry with economists. This is a recovery that only a macroeconomist could love at this point. I think we're in a half-hearted, sluggish economic recovery that, in my view, remains highly uneven and unbalanced. We had Ben Bernanke, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, recently described the economic outlook as, quote, unusually uncertain. That's central bank speak for we don't really know which way this thing's going to go. We're going to really need a change in psychology to really get this economy up and running. So, I know a lot of people out there might be concerned about inflation when you're talking about trillions of additional dollars being pumped into the economy. But your fears can be put aside, at least in the near term, because a lot of that money is still sitting at the Federal Reserve. It's moved from the Fed's account to the bank's account at the Fed. It hasn't gotten out into the economy. The monetary transmission mechanism is still very much broken. So the Fed can pump money into the economy or into the banking system, but that's not getting out into the real world. It's not helping out real people. And until that does, you're not going to see much impact from the Fed's policies. On the fiscal front, we've already had a tremendous amount of stimulus put into the system. The bad news is, for the outlook, is we're going to have about $100 billion less in federal fiscal stimulus next year than what we had this year. There are some bright spots, so I don't want to leave everybody here depressed, though it is a dismal science. There is some positives. One is that corporate profits are coming back a lot stronger than even they did in the 2001 recession. We've had very good earnings coming out in the third quarter among S&P 500 companies. And that usually leads, in fact, it always leads to better job creation, better business spending down the road. And we are starting to see businesses start to spend a little bit more liberally in some of these areas, though it's very tentative at this point. The other positive I see is that we are seeing some further improvement in demand in the auto sector. Autos don't last forever, and people have held off on purchasing cars for a long time. We're starting to see some improvement there. And then on the foreign demand front, countries like China, India, and the other emerging markets are roaring back to life again. They didn't have the excess baggage of our housing crisis and financial crisis. So as demand has come back, it's come back very strongly in these economies. And so foreign demand will be an important support for our economy as we come out of this.